some material getting pulled out. They took the term pre-sort or pre-treatment as being doing something with that waste. Scotland decided that a compaction in the back of a vehicle was enough of pre-treatment. It was a void reduction pre-treatment. So that's the view we took. So these things are always open to interpretation. But more significantly, and something to note, is that we started to set targets for the diversion of biodegradable municipal waste from landfill, BMW. BMW isn't a COE certificate of what? Entitlement, that's right. I'm trying to think of that word. It's an interesting concept. And, but it's not that. It's about biodegradable municipal waste. And just very quickly, two words meant municipal waste was it's waste from households. This is how Europe interpreted it. It's waste from households as well as any other waste, which because of its nature or composition is similar to waste from households. So Europe took a fairly broad view, decided that office waste from a property like this would be included in the definition. The UK took a different view. The UK took the definition that it's waste collected by or on behalf of the local authority or the municipality. So it was a much narrower definition. I think that would be public waste contracts and public waste regions. UK took a very different view. We've now adopted the wider definition at this point in time, and the reason why we did that was because we now discovered that in our office waste and our commercial waste, we're recycling really well. And since we're recycling really well, let's get the benefits of that now in with, we're slightly underperforming in our municipal waste. So the UK suddenly discovered, it's pulled a trick out of the hat, and hey, we're now doing well. So we've changed the definition. And then we talked about biodegradable waste. Yeah? This biodegradable element is really our first attempt at reducing carbon emissions from landfills. It's our first attempt at trying to get a reduction in CO2 equivalent, largely methane, into landfill. And anything that would degrade in a landfill was effectively biodegradable. And there were targets set in Europe, in Germany, in Holland, in Denmark. They had incineration in place, so they can easily meet this target already. You'll see that. But in Scotland, UK, Greece, Spain, Italy, these are all countries that are going to struggle with the concept of how to do it. So many of us got a derogation by 4 years, where we had to reduce the amount of waste. So in the case of Scotland, if you were to take that municipal waste, shake it up, get all the organic material here, 2 million tons of organic material going to landfill. When we got to 2005-06 with our recycling program, we got it down. This is the standard for that. So we had a bit to go. We got very good at recycling programs, and we changed the definition of municipal waste to include commercial waste. And hey presto, we're there. We're meeting European standards. The trouble is, we've got to go here and here. And those are demanding targets that we're going to have to deliver. What we thought at the time was that we were going to need 3 of these. Was it 3? Yeah, 5 of these. This is a kind of fancy composting plant. It's a bio-drying composting plant, Italian technology. So we thought we'd need 5 of these. We thought we'd need 4 of these. Incineration, this is a gasification plant in Norway. We thought we'd need 4 of them to comply. Or we thought, hey, we're going to have to do a lot more of this. Composting, recycling, and so on. In the end, what we did was a lot of this, and then we changed the definitions to make sure we complied. So that's how we reached this target. But we're going to have to do more to reach the next target. Okay, this is going to be 5 slides. 5 slides. So you're going to have to stay with me on this because it's going to go a little bit. But I don't want you to read it. I'm just going to touch on them for you. First thing we did way back in 1990 was made sure that everyone had to operate with a permit. Anyone running a waste facility had to operate under a license. If you didn't do that, you would get fined. You'd be taken to court. So 4 years later, we have a fairly intensive scheme of licensing of waste facilities. That includes reporting tonnages and so on. So, enough of that one. In 1996, we introduced landfill tax. It came in at £7 a tonne for active waste, waste that will have biodegradable material in, effectively. And we had an inactive construction type, rubble type tax. Because this is effectively our first carbon tax in the UK. And I haven't changed this, but that's effectively now 112 Singapore dollars to put a ton of water landfill. Yeah, 112 Singapore dollars to put in landfill. I think the gate fee for an incinerator here is maybe about $80 or $90. Is that right? I think so. So it's now more expensive to landfill than to incinerate. And then there were further refinements around landfill, which I won't go into. Now, an interesting bit of legislation comes out of Europe. Thankfully, Europe no longer does this, but they took a bit of a kind of waste stream approach to deciding how we were going to control particular waste streams that they felt extra control was needed. And packaging waste became one of those materials. So did electrical waste, so did battery waste, and so on. So there was a targeting of particular waste streams that Europe took, and we all had to engage with. If you handled 50 tons of packaging waste, so if you're Carrefour, for instance, they're handling as a retailer a lot of material. If you were importing packaging waste, if you were selling products and you manufactured products, you had a responsibility to do something with your packaging, and so on and so on. And most of Europe put different systems in place. But probably one of the more common systems was to apply a levy onto the packaging, a bit of like a tax. And that levy was money that was then used to give to the municipalities or to the private sector, the private collectors, to collect waste, packaging. So recycling programs ran in Germany, for instance, funded by the packaging levy. Okay? And they introduced a market-based approach.